I want you guys to imagine an NBA world where the rule that allows referees to review every buzzer beater at the end of each quarter doesn't exist, and where the red LED light strips that are normally alongside the edges of the backboard are no longer there. Well, what if I told you that it actually wasn't too long ago where those things were a reality? 2002 was the last year where all they had were those little tiny singular red lights behind the backboard that you could barely see, and when the referees weren't able to use instant replay to assist them in making the correct call. And because of that, all hell broke loose in the 2002 NBA playoffs. Here are 3 separate instances in those playoffs that's been said to have inspired the NBA to make a much needed change. April 27th, 2002, Game 3 of what was a first-round series between the Charlotte Hornets and the Orlando Magic. With the score tied up at 92 with only 7/10 of a second left, surely no one is gonna be able to get a decent shot off, right? Well, think again.
Davis at the buzzer! No, yes, no! It's waved off! Bernie Fryer says no, it will not count!
You heard it right there. The shot was waved off at the end of regulation, despite the television replays clearly showing that Baron Davis did in fact get the shot off in time. Now, the referee's reasoning was that they thought there was absolutely no way that the clock actually started right away as soon as the ball hit his hands. But again, as far as the replay is concerned, everything seemed legit. The clock immediately began as soon as he caught the ball, and he was able to release the ball just in time as well.
And Davis threw it up right away.
You could see the clock in the background.
Yep.
The ball was already released from his hands.
The Hornets have just had Game 3 taken away from them.
The officials had already made up their minds before they even inbounded the ball that this game was gonna go into overtime, because again, they didn't think it was really all that possible for Davis to pull that off.
And Bernie Fryer immediately, as soon as he caught it and she was already waving it off as if you can't do it.
They didn't expect to be put in that position, so they had to make a quick judgment call and wave it no basket. Remember, keep in mind, this was at a time where all the officials could do was make a judgment call. They didn't have the luxury to go straight to the monitors back in those days, so the Hornets had to take it on the chin and play another period.
Charlotte Hornets have been robbed of a playoff victory. We're going to overtime where they're going to have a chance to pull it out anyway.
And thankfully, they did manage to escape with the victory in the end, so at least it didn't wind up a complete disaster. Can you imagine if the Hornets actually ended up losing that game in overtime after getting screwed over at the end of regulation? How crappy they would have felt? But luckily, they survived and eventually wound up winning the series as well. Interestingly, just 5 days later, on May 2nd, 2002, a very similar fiasco took place at the end of Game 5 of what was a first-round series between the Indiana Pacers and the New Jersey Nets. The officials once again got it wrong, except this time it worked in the shooters' favor. With the series tied up at 2 games apiece, the stakes were extremely high, because this was back when first-round series were only the best of 5 instead of 7, which makes what happened at what should have been the end of the game completely unacceptable.
They cannot risk it. This is Bolt. O'Neal the rebound. Kevin Ollie brings it up. Throws it across. Miller for three. Oh! He backed it in! He backed it in! And the game is tied. We're going to overtime.
Now sure, that was without a doubt an impressive shot, but as you can see from the replay, the shot did not beat the buzzer. Man, I still can't comprehend why it took so long for them to implement the ability to review last-second shots. Because why would you want to deal with headaches like that on a nightly basis? Sure, I know if rookie Richard Jefferson hadn't missed 2 big free throws that would have pretty much sealed the game literally right before that, then the Nets wouldn't even have been in that position in the first place. But there's still no excuse for counting a shot that really shouldn't have been counted, especially in a series-decisive game game like that. Then again, I guess they technically did have an excuse, because it's not like they could have reviewed it anyways, and as a result, the game was sent into overtime. Reggie Miller also sent the game into a second overtime with this clutch dunk, but again, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, he basically got away with murder when it comes to this turnaround three. However, even after all that being said, the Nets were still able to hold on in double overtime to advance to the next round. And thank God they did hold on to win it, because they could have easily been wrongly eliminated. It's crazy how Baron Davis's shot that should have counted was waved off, but they still ended up winning, while Reggie Miller's shot was wrongly counted, but the Pacers still ended up losing anyways. So it looks like both games eventually had the right outcome. Now, there's one more incident that took place in the 2002 NBA playoffs where an instant replay most definitely would have came in handy. This was the only one that actually altered the outcome of the game. May 26, 2002, Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals between the LA Lakers and Sacramento Kings. We all know that this game is mostly known for what took place at the end, Robert Horry draining a game winner to even up the series at 2 games apiece. But there was another moment in this game that would essentially lead to the Kings' demise just as much as that Horry shot did. Let's go back all the way to the end of the first half.
Rebounded by Horry, taking out of the hands of Weber. Final seconds, Walker shooting for three. Yes!
At first glance, it looked like Samaki Walker made a three-pointer as time expired right before halftime. It looked good to the naked eye, but if you take a closer look, the replay said otherwise. 100% proof that the final score of 100-99 wasn't exactly accurate. Some would argue saying, well, the Kings did give up a massive lead in that game, so in the grand scheme of things, they don't exactly deserve any sympathy from anyone. I mean, yeah, but try telling that to Kings fans. I guarantee if this sort of thing happened to your team, you would be just as heartbroken and would never be able to really get over it. Because remember guys, Sacramento had a 2-1 lead going into this night, and instead of going up 3-1 in the series, which now that we know was very possible, they had to deal with the fact that the series was now tied up. So even though we can all agree that Game 6 of that series is obviously way more infamous, I'm surprised that this moment doesn't get brought up more, because it clearly had a huge impact on the series, and is just another example of why the NBA decided to start using instant replay beginning in the following season. And not only that, but it also sparked up the conversation for the red lights around the backboard instead of just one tiny light to better indicate the expiration of time. So there you have it. Now you know how the 2002 NBA playoffs played a huge role in how the game is today.